Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is Greg from Went Audio Video coming to you with another great video showcasing vintage audio receivers. Today on the bench we have a Sanyo JCX-2600K. Probably not a super popular receiver, but I am very impressed with this thing. Number one, it's built like a tank. It's heavy. It's got a good power output section, and it's got some really great looks, good styling, kind of similar to the Pioneer SX 1050 series, 850s, 1050s, etc. But let's go through it. I'll show you some of the features. We're going to talk about its specifications. I'm going to talk about the repair I did to it. And at the end, if you stick around, we're going to do a power output test to see how much power we can put out. All right, stay tuned. So up front here, we've got a nice looking front panel. Everything's laid out pretty nicely. There's the power switch over here. You've got a headphone jack, mic jack, speakers A, that's on. That's speakers B, that's on. You got some bass cutoff filters, a tone defeat, some treble cutoff filters, and then you've got the individual bass, mid, and treble controls. We have low and high filters, balance left and right, volume, nice big hefty volume knob with nice little clicky sounds. We've got a muting button that kind of mutes the sound. We've got our mode for stereo or mono. We've got FM muting on or off. When that's on, when you tune for tuning stations, you won't get static in between the stations until it locks onto a station. Then you'll hear some sound. With it off, you're going to get the static. Here we've got our input selector going from AM to FM to phono 1, phono 2 or microphone, and auxiliary. We've got our tuning adjustment here. And at the bottom we've got, let's start over here, loudness on and off. I like to leave that on. It seems like it gives it a nice extra boost. We've got our tape monitor, source, tape 2, tape 1, tape 2. And then we've got a dubbing to allow us to dub from tape 1 to tape 2. All right, let's fire it up. What do we have it on? We got it on phono. Let's put it on FM to start. And we will tune in a station.
Hero, you know what I would use? I would listen. If I was what I use. If I was, I would like.
Of course, there's no music on, but that's fine. You can see it locks into stereo. Tuning's pretty strong, nice and centered. If we go to auxiliary, I got something queued up here. Let me get it started. auxiliary. I'll show you phono. Got the same source going through my inverse RIAA filter, so I can test that phono stage. As you can tell, it's working great. If you're wondering, the band is called Crawdaddy. They're my uncle's former band out of Santa Cruz, California, doing a cover of Mardi Gras song. Hope you guys like it. All right, I want to discuss a little bit about the repairs. Actually, first we're gonna show you the back cover. Okay, so here's the back of the Sanyo JCX-2600K. Starting over here, we've got the power cord that goes to my power outlet. We've got some unswitched power jacks for hooking up some other components. We have a switched power outlet in case we want to power up another device when you turn on the power to the receiver. And then we've got our speakers A, right and left. We have speakers B, right and left. Pre-out and main in jumper pins from left and right. Got a tape 2 DIN plug here. Standard tape 2 RCA jacks, record and play. Record is the output, play is the input. Same thing for tape 1, record and play. We have an auxiliary. We have phono 2 that have some little plugs on them right now. And then we have phono 1 and our phono ground connections, our little screws to ground out. We have our AM rod antenna, an external AM antenna, and then we have a FM 375 ohm antenna inputs. So that's the back. I'm going to flip it around again, and then we're going to talk about the repairs I did. Let's check it apart real quick. Okay, we've got it apart. You're looking under the hood of the Sanyo JCX-2600K. I want to go over a little bit about what repairs I had to do to this thing. When I received it from the customer, he had recently just purchased it on eBay, I believe, and it came in unknown condition. When I opened up the lid, I first noticed there was no screws in the top cover. And then I noticed that the tuning wheel was just laying loose in the chassis here, and the gearing was all loose. So therefore, obviously, the dial string was just loose inside. So I knew I had to get that squared away first, just to make sure I could get the tuner working. And I don't know if any of you have ever worked on these little gearing systems, but it's quite a process to get the gear at the right spot, the little gear in here at the right spot, and the tuning capacitor all at the right spot so that it functions properly. Well, so I get it all aligned, get it working manually, but then I find I still have like 2 inches of slack on my string, and I'm going, what's going on? So I proceed to take the front panel apart to see where the string winds up, and I find out that one of the little wheels in the bottom left corner here was completely broken off and missing from the unit. And I'll show you a little closer look here. So if you look down at this corner, you'll see that the plastic where the wheel used to be is completely broken off as well. So probably not the wisest decision to put all the dial string and pulleys behind the front panel. I'm assuming what probably happened is maybe the previous technician lifted the unit up on its side like this to work on it and ended up breaking that wheel off and figured, well, now it's a goner. You're never going to find this piece here to replace. So anyways, the way I fixed it was I fashioned a little spring in here, mounted it in an existing screw hole, put a couple spacers to get it out where I wanted it, and then I had to kind of bend it a certain way and put this little plastic pulley in here, kind of a fake pulley, but allows the string to wrap around where I need it and get the right tension so that when you do the tuning, it all functions. So check this out. Now we can rotate all the way to each side. As you see, the tuner's functioning to the end, and we have a working tuner. Of course, I had to do some FM alignment at that point because everything was a little bit out of whack, but it wasn't too bad. Then I proceeded to service all the controls and switches, which is pretty standard on any vintage receiver. You're going to get crackles and pops and cutting out when you wiggle these controls just because they've been sitting there oxidizing for decades. After performing that service, we found that we had excessive DC voltage coming out of the speaker terminals intermittently. So I knew I had a semiconductor type of issue, most likely some transistors breaking down. And that was a fun one because it could be anywhere. It could be in the amplifier circuit, it could be in the preamp or the tone boards. Fortunately, it has jumpers in the back to be able to isolate it from the amp and the preamp circuit. And I found that it was coming from the preamp. So some troubleshooting took place. I will show you the schematic real quick. I'll show you how my methodology works here. So here's your tone amp board. I was able to find that I had a good signal coming into this tone switch board here, but it was not leaving that board. So on this board, there's not a whole lot going on. There's 4 transistors, and they're here, 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 and here. And I just changed them all. I wasn't going to find just the one bad one. Actually, I did find it was one bad one, but I decided, I'm going to change them all because if one fails, the other ones are potentially prone. And it's not easy to get to this. So let me show you that part. If you look down in the receiver here, that tone switchboard is right down here. And those transistors are located here. You can get to the soldering from here. Getting this board out is not entirely easy. You see they have some screws here, kind of accessible. But then they've got some that are right behind this plastic frame here and here and here. So in order to get that board out, you kind of have to take this whole plastic front off with the whole dial string, and that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I wasn't going to go through that right after I got it working. So if you flip it up, I'll show you the bottom. Or if I flip it up. You can see if you pull enough things out of your way, like this volume control board, you can kind of see where those transistors are back under there. Let me see if I'm even aiming. There we go. Anyway, they're real fun getting them in upside down. That's what it took. That's what solved that problem. The popping, crackling intermittently. I was getting excessive voltage on the outputs to my speakers, which is not good. And we get all that fixed. It works great in FM, works great in auxiliary. Go to check phono, and what do you know? I've got a similar issue where I've got intermittent DC spikes coming out of one channel in the phono circuit. And let me show you what that was. I'll pause this for a second. Okay, this one's a little easier to do manually. So here's our phono circuit. Actually, I'll show you the schematic first. Go to that page over here. All right, here's our phono amp circuit here. Comes in on these jacks here and here. One and right here and here. Goes through a little switch and then into our coupling caps here and here. And then into the input of these 2 IC chips, which are op amps, IC501 and 601. HJ-1457, as you see right here, which are obsolete. So the solution there was to use a circuit board that you can find online by Brown Dog, or Cinnamon, I think it is the company. Anyway, it's called the Brown Dog adapter. And then I put a little modern op amp on there, soldered it in place. You can see one's there and one is there, and those replace the original parts, which I'll show you. These guys, inline HA1457s. You can see all the black whiskers that are just growing out of the pins. That's likely what caused the failure. And then here's some caps in the phono circuit I changed, and the transistors that I replaced in the tone switch board. So that is what took care of it. Now, the magic of YouTube, we're going to put it back together. Okay, we're back with the Sanyo JCX-2600K. If you made it this far, you're in for a treat, because today we're going to measure the power amplifier output in watts and check the distortion level and see how that compares to what's printed in the manual, which I pulled up here on my screen. And as you can see up in the top left, it says power amplifier section, continuous minimum sine wave RMS power output per channel at 8 ohms from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz with no more than 0.1% harmonic distortion. So we're looking for 85 watts. There it is. Cool. Let's see if we can get 85 watts out of this thing. Let's fire it up. I've got a sine wave injected into the auxiliary input, 1 kilohertz. And we've got it hooked up to our dummy load over here, which is this panel down here I built. It's my input. This is my output to my distortion analyzer. This is my output to my scope up here. And this is the 4 ohm switch. And this is the dummy load or speaker switch. So if you see, there's my tone. Put it on the dummy load now. So now what we're going to do, we also have an AC voltmeter hooked up so we can see the level here. We'll put it on AC level. You see we got 1000 hertz or 999.99. We're going to crank up the volume and watch the equipment here. What we're looking for is these peaks to flatten out or distort. And then that's going to be our level that we're going to measure. Okay, you can see it's just starting to distort here at the top, kind of, and the bottom. So we're going to back it down a little bit. Then we're going to check our distortion because we want to make sure we're within that 0.1%. So let's hit the distortion. And we're at 0.04%. Wow, fantastic. Let's see if we can get any more out of it before it distorts. These volume controls just got the little clicks, so one click's too much. Try to find in between. And that's a little too high. 0.2, 0.06, 0.1. We're getting there. Let's get right under 0.1. What do you think? You want to push it? 0.9? It's just splitting hairs at this point. So, let's see if we can. Yeah, it's hard to find that exact. There you go, 0.9. We're looking at 31.26 RMS volts. We can also, with this machine, which is kind of cool, go 19.0 special function, and it gives me the watts right here, 122.5. Wow. That's well beyond what I expected. We can also confirm that with my calculator, which disappeared. 1 second. Haha, my calculator is also my camera. Or my camera is also my calculator. I don't know. Anyway, we'll do the math in a second here. But I think it's pretty accurate. That's pretty great. So that's the left channel. Let's shut it down and do the right. Okay, here's the right channel. We're going to slowly bring this guy up. Look for that clipping. Should be somewhere around the same spot, hopefully. Let's get to distortion actually first. 0.1. Oh, okay, we might be a little lower on this one, but okay, 0.09. And oh, it just changed on me. There we go, 0.09. 29.6 volts RMS. 19.0 special. 109. So we're pretty close. 110 and 120. Either way, it's well beyond the 85 that they say it can do. So I'm impressed. 120 watts, 110 watts out of a Sanyo JCX-2600. I think people that are buying these expensive Marantzas and Pioneers should start checking these out. I'm pretty impressed with the way it looks, the way it is built. It's built like a tank. And its power amplifier specs are pretty impressive. So why don't we finish off with one more song, huh? All right, we're back. How about we hear one more from Crawdaddy to finish this video out. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying all the way through. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification. You know the drill. We'll see you in the next one. We'll fade out here with little Crawdaddy.
J'ai passé devant Porte, j'ai crié bye bye la belle. Il y a personne qui m'a répondu. Oh yeah, mon cœur fait mal.
Thanks again, folks. See you in the next one.